So how do you then begin to close the gap between where you are and where you wanted to be? I wanted to tell you a couple of quick stories about people that I talked to and profiled as I was writing Reinventing You. This woman is named Deborah Shaw. I got to know Deborah actually because as you heard, my background, now I do corporate consulting, my background is in politics. So I worked with Deborah. Deborah, for 25 years, had been a top HR executive. She worked in New York, had a very successful, very lucrative career. And she retired from it, but she didn't want to retire. She didn't want to just, go golfing every day. That was not what she was interested in. And she thought, well, what can I do? What am I passionate about? So she started researching things, but she wasn't really finding anything that fit. She wasn't sure how she could leverage her talents. Until one day, she got invited by a friend to a fundraiser, political fundraiser, for a gentleman running for governor. And she heard him speak, and she said, that's it. That's who we need. I've got to do something about it. She'd never been involved in politics before, not anything more than just watching the Sunday morning news shows. But she decided to volunteer. And if any of you guys have worked in politics, you probably know that when you walk into a campaign office and you say, oh, can I volunteer? They will actually give you the most horrible things to do. And so what they said to Deborah is, oh, great, we'd love it if you volunteered. Here's a list of 1,000 names. Why don't you phone them and see if they support our candidate? Terrible. So she was making these dreadful phone calls, doing all this stuff, but she came in every day. And this is a woman who had a top job, prestige, salary, title, direct reports, incredibly powerful. But she came in every day and she made her phone calls. And before long, they began to realize, wait a minute, there's probably something different about this woman. She's a little different than the other volunteers. She actually comes when she says she's going to come. And so before long, they said, well, wait a minute, maybe you can do some other things. Eventually, they asked her, would she be a regional field director for the gubernatorial campaign? Never worked in politics. She said, okay, I can learn. She did this for 10 months. She thought at the end of it, he won. That was great. She said, okay, that's it. It was a fantastic lark. I learned something. It was great. But it wasn't over. She was approached by someone she had met on the campaign, state rep. There's a special election. He was running for state senate. He said, Deborah, I've been so impressed with you. Will you be my campaign manager? And that started her on a second career as a political campaign manager. She worked her way up to even managing a U.S. Senate race. And that's what she's doing now. She's executive director of a statewide political advocacy group, something she never could have imagined. But you have to be willing to take a step backward sometimes, to put our egos in check, to say, sure, I'll make the phone calls. And if you do that, then you can move forward.